Day after day, we hear about crime happening all over Rhode Island. It seems that people are hell-bent on committing crimes, making life miserable for everyone else, and just being all-around jerks. Sometimes, you wonder why people act the way they do. Well, if you're in one of the cities we're about to talk about, you don't have to worry about any of that mess. The goal today is to analyze the safest cities in Rhode Island. We looked at the last 3 years of FBI reporting data for cities over 10,000 residents. Then we looked at the statistical chances of someone who lives there being the victim of a violent or property crime. You might be surprised by the results. So feel free to walk around safely at night as we bring you Rhode Island's safest cities. Our first stop on our tour of Rhode Island's safest city starts in, surprisingly, Barrington. This unguarded city might not be very exciting, but it certainly isn't dangerous. Barrington has really low numbers when it comes to both violent and property crimes. That means there's hardly any rapes, murders, or assaults. And it also means that you're super smart to live there. This is the kind of place where neighbors help neighbors. Yes, there are still places like that exist in Rhode Island. Next up on our safe zone in Rhode Island brings us to East Greenwich. Now, if you talk to East Greenwich residents, they'll probably tell you they should be atop this list. If you walked around here, there's no way you'd see neighborhood bullies running around. And there's practically no chance you'd get robbed by this idiot walking around at night, that's for sure. Jerks like that live in the crappy places. Portsmouth certainly has a reason to feel safe. Crime has been steadily falling for the past few years, which puts it towards the bottom when it comes to the number of crimes that take place here. This is certainly the type of place where you can sleep well at night. For perspective, in some of the worst cities in Rhode Island, you'd probably have these guys for your neighbors. Who wants to deal with that crap? Another safe city to live, West Greenwich, certainly has a very bored police department. If you spent a year in West Greenwich, you'd have about a 1 in 250 chance you'd be the victim of even a basic property crime. In fact, most years, there's only a handful of violent crimes reported within city limits. Next time you see a West Greenwich police officer, thank them. Bristol comes in as the 6th safest place you can live in Rhode Island. This smallest city has seen its crime numbers go down over the last few years, which is a good thing. There's hardly any thefts, robberies, break-ins, or other random crimes. It's a kind of place where you can escape all the drama. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Everyone who lives in Bristol chipped in, and they all put Humpty back together again. We're safe and sound. Okay, I can't sing. Welcome to Cumberland, the 5th safest city in Rhode Island. Here you have about a 1 in 1,000 chance of being the victim of some sort of crime. Your friends in other parts of Rhode Island have to worry about all sorts of stuff you don't. You know, like having their General Lee stolen from outside the saloon, or getting beat up because they talked to the wrong girl. Seems like Cumberland is just the opposite of that lifestyle. If you live here, consider yourself lucky. No surprises here that South Kingstown is one of the safest places you can live in the state. Sure, this can be a really boring place, but at least when you turn on the TV here, the leading story is about a cat that's stuck up in a tree. If you live in South Kingstown, you're more likely to have these people as your neighbors, as opposed to having these people as your neighbors. Yuck. Can you guess where the 3rd safest city to live in Rhode Island is? That would be the city of Richmond. The number of violent and property crimes here is just about as low as you can get for a city this big. You can bet that if a missing dog, a little old lady, or even Kim Kardashian needed help in Richmond, someone would lend a helping hand, no matter what. That's the kind of place this is. If you want to see a real safe and sound place, head on over to Scituate. Statistically, there's hardly any incidents of crime happening in this nook of the state. Good for them. It's likely a group effort keeping this place so safe. You have about a 1 in 2,500 chance of being the victim of a crime for every year you spend in Scituate. That's crazy low. It's probably the high home prices that keep bozos like this out of the place. And where's the safest city you can live in the state? That would be Glocester, by a mile. Is that a shock? Statistically, the number of crimes that happen in Glocester is off the charts low. Like, nothing ever happens here but peace and quiet low. Is it boring? Probably. But can you leave your door unlocked at night? You betcha. If you live in Glocester or in any of the other Rhode Island cities we mentioned, you live in a really safe place. And now you know.